In the bustling marketplace of ideas, products, and relationships, an invisible hand guides our choices. This unseen force, often operating below the level of conscious awareness, is the profound power of psychological influence. Like a subtle current shaping the flow of a river, influence shapes our decisions, beliefs, and actions, molding our perceptions of the world around us. From the advertisements that bombard our senses to the subtle cues we pick up in social interactions, psychological influence is an omnipresent force constantly at play. Imagine yourself strolling through a shopping mall, the sights and sounds of commerce washing over you. You're drawn to a brightly lit storefront, its windows showcasing the latest fashion trends. A friendly salesperson greets you with a warm smile and an irresistible offer, a limited-time discount on the very item you've been eyeing. Without realizing it, you've been subtly influenced by a combination of factors: visual appeal, social pressure, and the allure of scarcity, all carefully orchestrated to nudge you towards a purchase. This scenario illustrates the pervasive nature of psychological influence. It's not always as overt as a persuasive salesperson or a flashing neon sign. Influence can be subtle, even imperceptible, weaving its way into our subconscious and shaping our thoughts and behaviors. Understanding this invisible hand is crucial because it holds the key to unlocking a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. By recognizing the mechanisms of influence, we can become more conscious consumers, more discerning decision-makers, and more empowered individuals capable of navigating the complexities of human interaction with greater awareness and intention. The study of psychological influence is not a new endeavor. For centuries, philosophers, politicians, and marketers have sought to unravel the mysteries of persuasion, hoping to decipher the code that unlocks the human mind. Today, this pursuit is aided by the tools of scientific inquiry, allowing researchers to delve into the intricate workings of the brain and uncover the neural mechanisms that underpin our susceptibility to influence. Through carefully controlled experiments and brain imaging studies, scientists are gaining unprecedented insights into how our perceptions are shaped, our emotions are triggered, and our decisions are swayed.
One groundbreaking discovery in the field of influence is the role of cognitive biases, mental shortcuts our brains use to process information quickly and efficiently. While these shortcuts serve us well in many situations, they can also lead to systematic errors in judgment and decision-making, leaving us vulnerable to manipulation. For instance, the anchoring bias demonstrates how our initial exposure to a piece of information, even if arbitrary, can disproportionately influence our subsequent judgments.
Imagine you're negotiating the price of a used car. The seller, a seasoned negotiator, throws out a ridiculously high initial price, anchoring your perception of the car's value. Even though you know it's overpriced, your subsequent offers are likely to be higher than if the seller had started with a more reasonable figure. This is the anchoring bias at play, subtly influencing your perception of what constitutes a fair price.
Understanding these cognitive biases is crucial to becoming more discerning consumers of information and more critical thinkers. By recognizing the mental shortcuts our brains rely on, we can learn to question our assumptions, challenge our biases, and make more informed decisions. This awareness empowers us to navigate the persuasive landscape with greater confidence and autonomy, making choices that align with our true values and goals.
The impact of psychological influence extends far beyond the realm of consumerism and marketing. It permeates every facet of our lives, shaping our interpersonal relationships, our professional endeavors, and our societal structures. From the subtle ways we persuade our loved ones to see our point of view to the persuasive techniques employed by leaders to inspire and motivate, influence is an integral part of the human experience. Recognizing its pervasive presence is not about becoming cynical or distrustful of all forms of persuasion. Instead, it's about developing a more nuanced understanding of the forces that shape our perceptions and behaviors, allowing us to navigate the complexities of human interaction with greater awareness and skill.
Consider the role of influence in the workplace. Effective leaders understand the power of persuasion, using their communication skills to inspire their teams, build consensus, and drive results. They leverage the principles of influence to create a shared vision, foster collaboration, and motivate their employees to achieve ambitious goals. On the other hand, manipulative individuals may use these same principles for personal gain, exploiting others' trust and undermining the integrity of the team.
Similarly, influence plays a crucial role in our personal relationships. We constantly engage in subtle forms of persuasion, whether we are negotiating household chores with our partners, convincing a friend to try a new restaurant, or advocating for ourselves in a difficult conversation. Understanding the principles of influence can enhance our ability to communicate effectively, build stronger relationships, and navigate conflict with greater empathy and understanding.
The significance of influence in daily life cannot be overstated. By recognizing its pervasive presence and understanding its mechanisms, we can become more effective communicators, more discerning decision-makers, and more empowered individuals, capable of navigating the complexities of human interaction with greater awareness and intention.
While influence itself is not inherently good or bad, the ethical implications of its use depend entirely on the intentions of the influencer and the awareness of the influenced. When employed responsibly and transparently, the principles of persuasion can be powerful tools for positive change, fostering collaboration, driving innovation, and promoting understanding. However, when wielded irresponsibly or manipulatively, these same principles can have detrimental consequences, eroding trust, fueling conflict, and undermining individual autonomy. The real danger lies in the realm of unconscious influence, where individuals are susceptible to manipulation without even realizing they're being targeted. This can occur in subtle ways through manipulative marketing tactics, emotionally charged rhetoric, or the exploitation of cognitive biases.
Imagine being bombarded with advertisements for a new weight loss product. The ads feature images of happy, healthy-looking individuals who claim to have achieved remarkable results with minimal effort. You're constantly exposed to testimonials, scientific-sounding jargon, and limited-time offers, all designed to create a sense of urgency and bypass your critical thinking faculties. Unconsciously, your desire for a quick fix and your susceptibility to social proof kick in, leading you to make a purchase you may later regret.
This example highlights the importance of developing critical thinking skills and becoming more discerning consumers of information. By questioning our assumptions, challenging our biases, and seeking out diverse perspectives, we can become less susceptible to unconscious influence and make more informed decisions that align with our true values and goals.
The pervasive nature of influence in the digital age, where we are constantly bombarded with information and targeted by sophisticated algorithms, makes it even more critical to be vigilant against manipulation. By understanding the tactics used to exploit our cognitive biases and emotional vulnerabilities, we can empower ourselves to navigate the online world with greater awareness, discernment, and resilience.
Section 5, Taking Control, Empowering Yourself with Knowledge.
This exploration into the realm of psychological influence is not meant to instill the fear or paranoia. It's not about viewing every interaction as a potential manipulation or questioning the motives of everyone we encounter. Instead, it's about empowering ourselves with knowledge, understanding the tools and techniques of influence so we can become more conscious consumers, more discerning decision makers, and more effective communicators. By shining a light on the often unseen forces that shape our thoughts and behaviors, we can gain greater control over our own lives and make choices that align with our true values and goals.
Throughout this journey, we will delve into the fascinating world of psychological influence, exploring the 6 fundamental principles of persuasion, unraveling the psychological tactics employed by marketers and advertisers, and uncovering the cognitive biases that can cloud our judgment. We will also explore the ethical implications of influence, examining the fine line between persuasion and manipulation.
This knowledge will equip you with the tools you need to become a more discerning consumer of information, a more critical thinker, and a more persuasive communicator. You'll learn to identify and resist manipulative tactics, make more informed decisions, and harness the power of influence for positive change.
Join us as we embark on this enlightening exploration of psychological influence, empowering ourselves to navigate the complexities of human interaction with greater awareness, intention, and skill.
Section 1. Decoding the Art of Persuasion, Unveiling Cialdini's 6 Principles.
The art of persuasion, often shrouded in mystery and intrigue, has captivated thinkers and leaders for centuries. From the eloquent orators of ancient Greece to the charismatic figures of modern times, the ability to sway hearts and minds has always been a coveted skill. But what is it about certain individuals, messages, or situations that make them so persuasive? Is it simply a matter of charisma, or are there underlying psychological principles at play? Fortunately, we don't have to rely on speculation or intuition alone to decipher the code of persuasion. Thanks to the work of renowned social psychologist Dr. Robert Cialdini, we now have a framework for understanding the subtle yet powerful forces that influence our decisions.
In his seminal book, Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion, Dr. Cialdini outlines 6 fundamental principles of persuasion that underpin our susceptibility to influence. These principles, rooted in decades of rigorous research and observation, provide a roadmap for understanding how our brains process information, make decisions, and respond to persuasive appeals. By understanding these principles, we can gain valuable insights into the tactics used by marketers, negotiators, politicians, and even our friends and family members to influence our thoughts and behaviors.
These principles are not mere theoretical constructs. They are deeply ingrained in our psychological makeup, reflecting fundamental aspects of human nature. They stem from our innate desire to make sense of the world, to seek out shortcuts for decision-making, and to conform to social norms. By understanding the evolutionary roots of these principles, we can gain a deeper appreciation for their power and pervasiveness.
Over the next few sections, we'll embark on a fascinating journey into the world of Cialdini's 6 Principles of Persuasion. We'll explore each principle in detail, examining its psychological underpinnings, illustrating its real-world applications, and providing you with practical tips for recognizing and responding to its influence in your own life. Whether you're looking to become a more persuasive communicator, a more discerning consumer, or simply a more informed individual, understanding these principles is essential for navigating the complex and often subtle world of influence.
Section 2. Reciprocity, the power of giving and receiving.
The principle of reciprocity, deeply ingrained in the fabric of human interaction, dictates that when someone does something for us, we feel obligated to return the favor. It's a universal social norm, transcending cultures and continents, that underpins countless aspects of our lives, from the exchange of gifts during holidays to the unspoken rules of social etiquette. This innate sense of obligation is not merely a matter of politeness. It's a powerful psychological force that can be leveraged to influence behavior.
Think about the last time you received an unexpected gift or act of kindness. Didn't you feel a surge of warmth and appreciation? accompanied by a subtle yet undeniable urge to reciprocate. Perhaps you sent a thank you note, offered to help the person with a future task, or simply made a mental note to return the favor when the opportunity arose. This is reciprocity at play, subtly influencing your behavior and strengthening the social bond between you and the gift giver.
The power of reciprocity lies in its ability to create a sense of indebtedness even when the initial favor is unsolicited or relatively insignificant. This principle is often exploited by marketers and salespeople who employ a variety of tactics to trigger this sense of obligation. For instance, you might receive a free sample of a new product at the grocery store, a complimentary pen with a company's logo at a trade show, or even a handwritten note accompanying an online purchase. While these gestures may seem small, they are often carefully calculated to evoke a sense of reciprocity, increasing the likelihood that you'll reciprocate by making a purchase.
Understanding the principle of reciprocity empowers us to recognize and navigate these subtle forms of influence. By being aware of the power of giving and receiving, we can make more conscious decisions about when to accept favors, how to express gratitude, and how to avoid feeling obligated to reciprocate in ways that don't align with our values or goals.
Section 3. Commitment and consistency, the foot in the door technique.
The principle of commitment and consistency highlights our inherent desire to be seen as consistent and reliable individuals. Once we've made a commitment, even a small one, we're more likely to act in ways that align with that commitment in the future. This principle stems from our need to maintain a positive self-image and to avoid the cognitive dissonance that arises when our actions contradict our beliefs or values.
Think about the last time you made a New Year's resolution. Perhaps you vowed to eat healthier, exercise more frequently, or finally tackle that long procrastinated project. Even if your initial motivation waned over time, the mere act of making a public commitment, whether to yourself or others, likely increased your chances of sticking to your goal, at least for a while. This is commitment and consistency at work, subtly influencing your behavior and encouraging you to act in ways that align with your stated intentions.
This principle is often exploited through a persuasive technique known as the foot in the door technique. This approach involves securing a small, initial commitment from someone, which then increases the likelihood of them agreeing to a larger related request later on. For instance, a salesperson might start by asking if you have a moment to answer a few quick questions about your shopping habits. Once you've agreed to this small request, you're more likely to agree to a larger request, such as listening to a product pitch or providing your contact information.
By understanding the principle of commitment and consistency, we can become more aware of the subtle ways in which our past actions and commitments can influence our future decisions. This awareness empowers us to make more conscious choices, to avoid feeling pressured into commitments we don't genuinely want to make, and to ensure that our actions align with our true values and goals.
Section 1. The Subliminal Seduction: How Marketing Taps into Our Psyche.
In the digital age, advertisers master psychological manipulation to capture our attention and sway our decisions.
Imagine scrolling through social media and seeing an ad for athletic wear featuring fit, happy people. It suggests buying this brand will grant you that lifestyle.
These tactics bypass rational filters, appealing to emotions and insecurities to nudge us toward purchases.
Understanding these techniques helps us become more conscious consumers, making informed decisions aligned with our values. Section 2. Emotional Alchemy: Crafting ads that resonate with our feelings.
Emotions play a powerful role in shaping our preferences and driving our behavior.
Heartwarming stories in ads, like touching moments in a beverage commercial, associate products with joy and connection.
Recognizing emotional triggers in ads helps us make conscious choices, ensuring our decisions align with our true needs and values.
In advertising, every detail matters, including color.
Marketers use color to evoke emotions and influence our decisions.
Red stimulates appetite and urgency, while blue conveys trust and stability.
Understanding color psychology helps us become aware of its influence on our choices.
Recognizing how hues evoke emotions allows us to make more conscious decisions about the brands we support. FOMO, the fear of missing out, is a potent tool for marketers.
Marketers create urgency and exclusivity to exploit FOMO, making us more likely to make impulsive purchases.
Limited time offers and exclusive access tap into our desire for social status and belonging.
Recognizing FOMO triggers helps us make conscious decisions aligned with our values rather than reacting out of fear.
Price is often the most contentious point of negotiation.
Marketers use anchoring and decoy pricing to exploit our perceptual biases.
Anchoring creates the illusion of a bargain by listing an inflated price before discounting it. Decoy pricing introduces a less appealing option to make another option seem more attractive.
Understanding these strategies helps us make more rational decisions and see through pricing illusions.
A strong brand can be the difference between obscurity and success.
Brands tap into our emotions, aspirations, and desires to forge lasting connections.
Successful brands use storytelling to create identities that resonate with their target audience.
Recognizing the psychology of branding helps us make informed decisions that align with our values.
For businesses, crafting authentic brand identities builds lasting connections beyond mere transactions.
Becoming a conscious consumer requires a critical eye for persuasion tactics.
Awareness of psychological principles in advertising helps us recognize manipulation.
Asking critical questions about ads helps us separate genuine value from manipulative tactics.
Developing a mindful approach to advertising allows us to make informed choices that align with our values.
Our brains are prone to cognitive biases, mental shortcuts that simplify decision-making.
These biases can distort our perceptions and influence our choices.
Recognizing cognitive biases helps us make more rational, informed decisions.
Awareness of these biases is crucial in today's information-rich world.
Understanding cognitive biases allows us to develop strategies for mitigating their influence. Section 2. Anchoring bias. The power of first impressions and initial information.
In the realm of cognitive biases, first impressions are not just important, they can be disproportionately influential, shaping our perceptions and judgments long after the initial encounter.
This phenomenon, known as anchoring bias, demonstrates how our brains tend to latch onto the first piece of information we receive about a topic, even if that information is arbitrary or irrelevant, using it as a mental anchor that influences our subsequent judgments and decisions.
Imagine yourself negotiating the price of a used car.
Even if you know the car is overpriced, your subsequent offers are likely to be influenced by that initial anchor, higher than if the seller had started with a more reasonable figure.
The power of anchoring bias extends far beyond pricing negotiations.
For instance, if your first exposure to a new colleague is hearing negative gossip about them, that initial impression might linger, coloring your perception of them even if they later prove to be competent and likable.
Similarly, if you're told a particular task is extremely difficult, you might approach it with a sense of dread and self-doubt, anchoring your performance at a lower level than if you had been given a more neutral or positive assessment.
Overcoming anchoring bias requires developing a conscious awareness of its influence and actively seeking out alternative perspectives and sources of information.
When making decisions, challenge your initial assumptions. Consider a range of possibilities. And don't be afraid to question the validity of the first piece of information you receive, especially if it comes from someone with a vested interest in influencing your perception.
Section 3. Confirmation bias. Seeking information that confirms our existing beliefs.
Our brains, wired for efficiency and pattern recognition, have a knack for seeking out information that confirms our existing beliefs and ignoring or downplaying evidence that contradicts them.
This tendency, known as confirmation bias, is one of the most pervasive and insidious cognitive biases, influencing our perceptions, shaping our interpretations of events, and ultimately reinforcing our existing worldviews, even if those worldviews are inaccurate or incomplete.
Imagine you're passionate about a particular social or political issue. You might find yourself gravitating towards news sources, social media groups, and individuals who share your views, reinforcing your existing beliefs and creating an echo chamber where dissenting opinions are rarely heard or given credence.
Even when confronted with evidence that challenges your perspective, you might find yourself engaging in mental gymnastics to dismiss it, reinterpret it, or rationalize it away, preserving your existing beliefs intact.
Confirmation bias is not just an individual phenomenon. It can also manifest in group settings, leading to groupthink, where a desire for harmony and conformity overrides critical thinking and objective decision-making.
In such environments, dissenting opinions are often silenced or marginalized, leading to a dangerous illusion of consensus and potentially disastrous outcomes.
Overcoming confirmation bias requires cultivating a spirit of intellectual humility, acknowledging that our beliefs are not always accurate or complete, and actively seeking out diverse perspectives, even if those perspectives make us uncomfortable.
Challenge your own assumptions, engage with people who hold different views, and be willing to change your mind when presented with compelling evidence, even if it means confronting your own biases and preconceptions. Section 4. Loss aversion. The pain of losing outweighs the pleasure of gaining.
Imagine yourself faced with a simple gamble, a 50-50 chance of winning $100 or losing $50. Would you take the bet?
For many people, the answer is no, even though the potential gain outweighs the potential loss. This aversion to risk, even when the odds are in our favor, stems from a powerful cognitive bias known as loss aversion, which posits that the pain of losing something we value is psychologically twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining something of equal value.
Loss aversion is deeply ingrained in our evolutionary history. For our ancestors who lived in a world of scarcity and uncertainty, losing a valuable resource such as food, shelter, or a social connection could have dire consequences for survival and reproduction.
As a result, our brains evolved to be highly sensitive to potential losses, prioritizing loss avoidance over potential gains.
In modern society, loss aversion manifests itself in a variety of ways. We might cling to losing investments longer than we should, hoping to recoup our losses, even when the rational choice is to cut our losses and move on.
We might avoid taking calculated risks, even when the potential rewards are significant, because the fear of losing out outweighs the potential for gain.
Overcoming loss aversion requires recognizing its influence on our decision-making and consciously reframing our choices in terms of potential gains rather than potential losses.
Instead of focusing on what we stand to lose, we can shift our attention to the potential benefits of taking a risk or making a change, even if it means confronting our inherent aversion to uncertainty and potential setbacks. Section 5. Framing effect. How the wording of choices influences our decisions.
Imagine you're a doctor presenting a patient with two treatment options for a serious illness. Option A has a 90% survival rate, while option B has a 10% mortality rate. Although both options convey the same statistical probability of survival, the way in which they are framed can significantly influence the patient's decision. This phenomenon, known as the framing effect, demonstrates how the wording of choices, even when the underlying options are objectively the same, can significantly alter our perceptions and sway our decisions.
Our brains, wired for efficiency, often rely on mental shortcuts to process information and make decisions. When presented with a choice, we tend to gravitate towards options framed in terms of potential gains, even if those gains are relatively small, and shy away from options framed in terms of potential losses, even if those losses are relatively minor. This is because losses loom larger in our minds than gains, triggering our innate aversion to risk and uncertainty.
The framing effect is not limited to medical decisions or financial choices. It permeates our daily lives, influencing our perceptions of products, people, and even our own abilities. For instance, a marketing campaign that emphasizes the 90% fat-free nature of a food product is likely to be more persuasive than one that highlights its 10% fat content, even though both statements convey the same information.
Overcoming the framing effect requires developing a critical awareness of how language can be used to subtly influence our perceptions and choices. When making decisions, pay close attention to the wording of choices, reframe options in your own words, and consider the underlying information being presented rather than simply reacting to the way in which it is framed. Section 6. The availability heuristic, judging probability based on ease of recall.
Our brains are constantly bombarded with information, from the mundane to the extraordinary. To make sense of this deluge of data, we rely on mental shortcuts known as heuristics to simplify our thinking processes and make quick judgments. One such shortcut is the availability heuristic, which involves estimating the likelihood of an event based on how easily we can recall similar events from memory.
Imagine you're asked to estimate the likelihood of being involved in a car accident. If you've recently witnessed a car accident or seen one on the news, that vivid memory might be readily available in your mind, leading you to overestimate the probability of such an event occurring. Conversely, if you haven't personally experienced or witnessed a car accident in a long time, you might underestimate the risk, even if statistically, car accidents are relatively common.
The availability heuristic can lead to biased judgments, particularly when it comes to assessing risk and probability. Events that are dramatic, vivid, or emotionally charged tend to be more memorable, and therefore more available in our minds, leading us to overestimate their likelihood. Conversely, mundane or uneventful events, even if statistically more common, might be easily forgotten, leading us to underestimate their probability.
Overcoming the availability heuristic requires recognizing its influence on our judgments and actively seeking out objective data and statistical information to inform our decisions. Instead of relying solely on our memories, which can be selective and biased, we can consult reliable sources of information, consider a wider range of perspectives, and make more informed decisions based on evidence rather than anecdote. Section 7. Overcoming our biases, strategies for making more rational decisions.
Cognitive biases, while an inherent part of the human experience, are not insurmountable obstacles to rational thinking and sound decision-making. By understanding these biases, recognizing their influence on our thoughts and behaviors, and developing strategies for mitigating their impact, we can become more conscious, deliberate, and ultimately more rational decision-makers.
One key strategy for overcoming cognitive biases is to cultivate a spirit of intellectual humility, acknowledging that our brains are not perfect reasoning machines and that we are all susceptible to errors in judgment. This involves questioning our assumptions, challenging our beliefs, and being open to the possibility that we might be wrong. By embracing intellectual humility, we create space for critical thinking, open-mindedness, and a willingness to update our beliefs in light of new information or perspectives.
Another effective strategy is to slow down our thinking processes, engaging our conscious, analytical minds rather than relying solely on our intuitive, emotional responses. When faced with a decision, take the time to gather all the relevant information, consider alternative perspectives, and weigh the potential consequences of different courses of action. This deliberate analytical approach can help us to identify and mitigate the influence of cognitive biases, leading to more rational and informed choices.
Finally, it's essential to cultivate an awareness of our own personal biases, the unique patterns of thinking and perceiving that shape our individual worldviews. By identifying our own blind spots, we can develop strategies for mitigating their influence, seeking out diverse perspectives, and surrounding ourselves with people who challenge our assumptions and encourage us to think critically. Overcoming cognitive biases is an ongoing journey, not a destination, and it requires ongoing self-reflection, a commitment to intellectual honesty, and a willingness to confront our own limitations. In the intricate dance of human interaction, where words hold the power to inspire, inform, and influence, the line between ethical persuasion and manipulative coercion can often blur. While both persuasion and manipulation seek to influence thoughts and actions, they diverge dramatically in their intentions, methods, and ethical implications. Understanding this crucial distinction is paramount for navigating the complexities of interpersonal relationships, professional interactions, and the persuasive landscape of the modern world.
At its core, persuasion is an art form that respects the autonomy and dignity of the individual. It's about presenting information clearly and compellingly, appealing to reason and emotion, and ultimately allowing individuals to make informed decisions based on their own values and goals. Ethical persuasion seeks to build bridges of understanding, foster mutual respect, and create win-win outcomes where all parties feel heard, valued, and respected. It's a collaborative process that recognizes the inherent worth of all individuals involved.
Manipulation, on the other hand, operates in the shadows, employing deception, coercion, and emotional exploitation to achieve its aims. It's a form of psychological control that disregards the needs and desires of others, seeking to impose its will through covert tactics and psychological pressure. Manipulation thrives on power imbalances, exploiting vulnerabilities, and preying on insecurities to achieve its goals, often leaving its victims feeling used, violated, and distrustful.
Distinguishing between persuasion and manipulation requires careful observation, critical thinking, and a willingness to look beyond surface appearances. It's about questioning motives, examining tactics, and evaluating the long-term consequences of influence, both for ourselves and those around us. By developing a discerning eye for the subtle signs of manipulation, we can protect ourselves from its insidious effects and cultivate more ethical and authentic interactions in all areas of our lives.
The world of manipulation is a shadowy realm where deceivers and manipulators employ a cunning arsenal of tactics designed to exploit vulnerabilities, bypass rational defenses, and ultimately control the thoughts and actions of others. These tactics, often subtle and insidious, can be challenging to detect, particularly for those unfamiliar with the manipulative playbook. However, by understanding the common tactics of manipulation, we can arm ourselves with the knowledge and awareness needed to recognize and resist these attempts to control and exploit us.
One common manipulative tactic is emotional blackmail, which involves using guilt, fear, or obligation to pressure someone into complying with a request or demand. Manipulators skilled in this tactic are masters of emotional manipulation, preying on their victim's empathy, sense of duty, or fear of confrontation to get what they want. They might use phrases like, "If you really loved me, you would," or "After all I've done for you, you can't say no," to evoke guilt and obligation, effectively holding their victim's emotions hostage.
Another common tactic is gaslighting, a particularly insidious form of manipulation that involves distorting or denying reality to make the victim question their own sanity and perceptions. Gaslighters are masters of deception, twisting facts, denying events, and planting seeds of doubt in their victim's mind, gradually eroding their sense of self-worth and confidence. They might accuse their victim of being crazy, oversensitive, or imagining things, creating a confusing and disorienting reality where the victim feels powerless to challenge their abuser's version of events.
These are just two examples of the many tactics employed by manipulators. Other common tactics include playing the victim, using flattery and charm to disarm their targets, making veiled threats, and employing passive-aggressive behaviors to express anger or disapproval indirectly. By understanding these tactics, we can begin to recognize the red flags of manipulation, empowering ourselves to set boundaries, challenge distortions, and protect our emotional well-being.
In a world saturated with persuasive messages, where influence flows like a relentless current, the need for ethical and responsible persuasion has never been more critical. Ethical persuasion, unlike its manipulative counterpart, operates from a foundation of respect, transparency, and integrity. It recognizes the inherent worth and autonomy of all individuals, seeking to inform, inspire, and motivate rather than deceive, coerce, or exploit.
One fundamental principle of ethical persuasion is transparency. Ethical persuaders are upfront about their motives, clearly stating their goals and intentions, and avoiding hidden agendas or deceptive tactics. They provide all relevant information, even if it doesn't necessarily support their case, allowing individuals to make fully informed decisions based on a complete understanding of the facts. Transparency fosters trust and respect, creating an environment where open dialogue and authentic connection can flourish.
Another key principle is respect for autonomy. Ethical persuaders recognize that every individual has the right to make their own choices, even if those choices differ from their own. They avoid using coercion, pressure tactics, or emotional manipulation, instead appealing to reason, logic, and shared values to build consensus and inspire action. Respect for autonomy honors the dignity of the individual, fostering a sense of agency and empowerment rather than dependence or obligation.
Ethical persuasion is not about winning at all costs. It's about engaging in authentic dialogue, building bridges of understanding, and creating mutually beneficial outcomes. It's about using the power of influence responsibly, with integrity and compassion, to create a more just, equitable, and harmonious world.
Detecting deception, recognizing the red flags of manipulation. Manipulators are often masters of disguise, skillfully concealing their true intentions behind a veneer of charm, concern, or even helplessness. They are experts at reading people, identifying vulnerabilities, and exploiting insecurities to achieve their aims. However, no matter how skilled the manipulator, there are always telltale signs, subtle red flags that betray their true nature. By learning to recognize these red flags, we can develop a more discerning eye for deception, empowering ourselves to protect our emotional well-being and avoid falling prey to manipulation.
One of the most common red flags is a persistent feeling of unease or discomfort in the presence of the manipulator. This intuitive sense that something isn't quite right, often dismissed as oversensitivity or paranoia, is actually our internal alarm system alerting us to potential danger. Manipulators often evoke feelings of guilt, obligation, or fear in their victims, creating an atmosphere of emotional tension and unease. Trust your gut instincts. If someone consistently makes you feel uncomfortable, even if you can't quite put your finger on why, it's a sign to proceed with caution.
Another red flag is a pattern of inconsistent behavior or communication. Manipulators are often skilled at telling people what they want to hear, tailoring their words and actions to suit their audience and achieve their desired outcome. They might shower you with praise and attention one moment, only to withdraw affection or become critical the next, creating a confusing and emotionally draining cycle of highs and lows. Pay attention to inconsistencies between words and actions. If someone's behavior doesn't match their words, it's a sign that their motives might not be entirely pure.
Manipulators often use guilt trips, playing the victim, or making you feel responsible for their emotions or well-being. They might say things like, "You're the only one who understands me," or "I'm only doing this because I care about you," to evoke sympathy and manipulate you into doing what they want. Remember, you are not responsible for other people's emotions or choices. If someone is consistently trying to make you feel guilty or responsible for their well-being, it's a sign that they might be trying to manipulate you.
Building resistance strategies for defending against manipulation.
In the intricate game of human interaction where manipulators lurk in the shadows, seeking to exploit vulnerabilities and exert control, developing effective defense strategies is paramount for safeguarding our emotional well-being and preserving our autonomy. Building resistance to manipulation is not about becoming cynical or distrustful of everyone we encounter. It's about cultivating a discerning eye, setting healthy boundaries, and developing the skills and confidence to assert our needs and protect our emotional space.
One powerful strategy for building resistance is to cultivate self-awareness, developing a deep understanding of our own values, beliefs, and emotional triggers. Manipulators often prey on our insecurities, exploiting our fears and doubts to gain leverage. By identifying our own vulnerabilities, we can begin to anticipate potential areas of manipulation and develop strategies for protecting ourselves. This might involve setting boundaries with certain individuals, practicing assertive communication, or simply becoming more mindful of our emotional responses in triggering situations.
Another effective strategy is to develop critical thinking skills, learning to question assumptions, evaluate evidence, and identify logical fallacies. Manipulators often distort information, present half-truths, or use emotional appeals to bypass rational thinking. By honing our critical thinking skills, we can become more discerning consumers of information, less likely to be swayed by emotional appeals or deceptive tactics. Ask questions, seek out multiple perspectives, and don't be afraid to challenge inconsistencies or distortions.
Building resistance to manipulation is an ongoing process, not a one-time event. It requires ongoing self-reflection, a willingness to confront our own vulnerabilities, and a commitment to setting healthy boundaries in all areas of our lives. Remember, you have the right to say no without feeling guilty, to protect your emotional well-being, and to choose who you allow to influence your thoughts, feelings, and actions. The power of ethical persuasion, building trust and fostering collaboration.
In a world often characterized by competition, conflict, and the relentless pursuit of self-interest, the power of ethical persuasion shines as a beacon of hope, offering a pathway to building trust, fostering collaboration, and creating mutually beneficial outcomes. Ethical persuasion, unlike its manipulative counterpart, operates from a foundation of respect, empathy, and a genuine desire to understand and address the needs and perspectives of all parties involved.
One of the key strengths of ethical persuasion lies in its ability to build trust, the bedrock of any strong and enduring relationship. When we feel heard, understood, and respected, we are far more likely to be open to influence, to consider alternative perspectives, and to work collaboratively towards shared goals. Ethical persuasion fosters an environment of mutual respect, where open dialogue and authentic connection can flourish, paving the way for creative problem-solving and mutually beneficial outcomes.
Beyond building trust, ethical persuasion is also a powerful tool for fostering collaboration. By engaging in open and honest dialogue, actively listening to and acknowledging different perspectives and seeking common ground, we can bridge divides, find creative solutions, and work together to achieve goals that benefit everyone involved. Ethical persuasion empowers individuals to become active participants in the decision-making process, fostering a sense of ownership and commitment that is essential for lasting change.
In a world hungry for authenticity, integrity, and genuine connection, the power of ethical persuasion cannot be overstated. By embracing transparency, respect, and a commitment to mutual benefit, we can harness the power of influence to create a more just, equitable, and harmonious world. One conversation, one interaction, one ethical decision at a time.
And as we conclude our exploration into the fascinating and often invisible world of psychological influence, it's crucial to pause and reflect on the profound implications of what we've uncovered. The subtle forces of persuasion, operating both consciously and unconsciously, shape our perceptions, influence our decisions, and ultimately shape the course of our lives.
From the cleverly crafted advertisements that bombard our senses to the subtle cues we pick up in our daily interactions, influence is an omnipresent force, weaving its way into the fabric of our experiences. Recognizing its pervasive presence is not about becoming cynical or distrustful of every interaction, but rather about developing a more nuanced and informed understanding of the forces that shape our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Throughout this journey, we've delved into the psychological underpinnings of persuasion, exploring the 6 fundamental principles that drive our susceptibility to influence. We've unraveled the tactics employed by marketers and advertisers, those skilled architects of desire who leverage our emotions, aspirations, and cognitive biases to shape our consumer choices. We've also journeyed inward, exploring the fascinating world of cognitive biases, those mental shortcuts that, while often helpful, can also lead us astray, distorting our perceptions and influencing our decisions in ways we may not even realize.
This newfound knowledge is not a weapon to be wielded against others, but rather a tool for self-empowerment, a lens through which we can view the world with greater clarity, discernment, and autonomy. By understanding the principles of influence, we can become more conscious consumers, more discerning decision-makers, and more empowered individuals, capable of navigating the complexities of human interaction with greater awareness and intention.
The power of influence, like any tool, can be used for good or for ill. In the wrong hands, it can become a weapon of manipulation, coercion, and exploitation. However, in the hands of those who wield it responsibly, ethically, and with compassion, the power of persuasion can be a force for positive change, building bridges of understanding, fostering collaboration, and creating a more just, equitable, and harmonious world.
Ethical persuasion begins with a deep respect for the autonomy and dignity of every individual. It's about engaging in open and honest dialogue, presenting information clearly and compellingly, and allowing individuals to make informed decisions based on their own values and goals. It's about appealing to reason, logic, and shared values, rather than exploiting emotions, manipulating insecurities, or resorting to coercion or deception.
In a world often characterized by division, conflict, and the relentless pursuit of self-interest, the need for ethical persuasion has never been more critical. We need leaders, educators, communicators, and individuals who understand the power of influence and are committed to using it responsibly to inspire, to motivate, to build consensus, and to create a better future for all.
As we navigate the complexities of the 21st century, facing unprecedented challenges and opportunities, the ability to communicate effectively, to build bridges of understanding, and to inspire action will be paramount. Let us commit to using the power of persuasion for good, to create a world where influence is a force for positive change, not manipulation or exploitation.
Mastering the art of ethical persuasion and navigating the persuasive landscape with awareness and skill is not a destination, but an ongoing journey. It's a process of continuous learning, self-reflection, and refinement as we encounter new challenges, engage with diverse perspectives, and strive to use our influence responsibly.
The first step on this journey is to cultivate a sense of mindful awareness, paying attention to the subtle ways in which influence operates in our own lives and in the world around us. Notice the advertisements that capture your attention, the persuasive tactics used by salespeople, the arguments that sway your opinions. By becoming more attuned to the subtle cues of influence, we can begin to deconstruct their mechanisms and develop strategies for resisting manipulation.
As we become more aware of the persuasive forces at play, we can begin to develop our own ethical persuasion skills, learning to communicate our ideas clearly and compellingly, to build rapport and trust, and to inspire action without resorting to manipulation or coercion. This involves honing our communication skills, developing our emotional intelligence, and cultivating a deep understanding of human psychology and motivation.
The journey of mastering influence is not for the faint of heart. It requires courage to confront our own biases, humility to acknowledge our limitations, and a willingness to learn and adapt as we navigate the complexities of human interaction. However, the rewards of this journey are immeasurable. Greater self-awareness, more fulfilling relationships, and the power to make a positive difference in the world.
In a world awash in persuasive messages where our attention is constantly being vied for, the most empowering skill we can cultivate is the ability to make conscious, values-driven decisions. This means becoming discerning consumers of information, questioning assumptions, challenging biases, and refusing to be swayed by emotional appeals or deceptive tactics.
It means defining our own values, identifying our goals, and making choices that align with our authentic selves. It means being willing to say no to influences that don't serve us, to walk away from situations that feel manipulative or coercive, and to surround ourselves with people who respect our boundaries and support our growth.
This is not to say that we should become immune to influence or reject all forms of persuasion. Influence, after all, is an essential part of the human experience, the driving force behind collaboration, innovation, and social change. However, we must be mindful of the influences we allow into our lives, choosing to align ourselves with individuals, organizations, and messages that resonate with our values and inspire us to become our best selves.
As we conclude this exploration of psychological influence, let us embrace the power of conscious choice, using our newfound knowledge and awareness to navigate the persuasive landscape with integrity, authenticity, and a deep commitment to creating a world where influence is a force for good.